than this. The will of God has been written by the invisible hand of reality. It is still in probate as far as most of us are concerned. It has never been completely executed. We have not laid hold of our divine inheritance. Perhaps we have been listening to the wrong counsel. We've accepted the false evidence of the senses. We have been cast out into prison for debts which might have been paid had we recognized that substance already belonged to us. We have been a servant and not a son. Hence, we have not entered into the heirship. In another place, we are told that it is high time that we should awake from our sleep. Perhaps we have dreamed that we were servants and not heirs. Now we must awake from this mesmeric state. The heir must claim his or her inheritance. Otherwise, it is still kept for him, and he has not the use of it. He must step forward before the bar of justice, which is the law of cause and effect, and declare that he is no longer a servant, no longer a slave, but a master, a son, a daughter, an heir. He and she must announce that all that the Father has is his, is hers. Thus we lay claim to this true estate, laying claim in the name of God through Christ, and the inheritance is at once delivered. That which had been kept in store for him is delivered into his hand. An opportunity for us to become more of ourselves and never the less. Change the future. Changing the outside without changing the inside is futile. Changing the outside without changing the inside is futile. It serves no purpose and can be completely ineffective. I'll say it one more time. Changing the outside without changing the inside is futile. It serves no purpose and can be completely ineffective. So some of you may know that a little over a year ago, we changed our mission and we changed our vision. And not only did we change our mission and our vision, some of you may know that our music is changing. Bayless stepped down. And you know that we're in the process of changing our home. We have been engaged in this process for months now. Changing the future. And we're in the process of changing some other things that you're not aware of yet. But things are changing. And you'll be hearing more about some of those other things that are changing. But the truth is that all of that can change. But if we don't change, it'll serve no useful purpose. It's futile. All those things can change, but if we don't change, it will serve no useful purpose. If we don't become a better version of ourselves. There's nothing wrong with who we are now. I'm not suggesting that. But what I am suggesting is that there's so much more that we haven't tapped into. There's so much more that you haven't tapped into. That becoming a better version of ourselves seems to be the options. So if we don't let the past go, and if we don't engage in the use of the power that's at hand to become more of who we truly are, the new home is just a new home. Ernest Holmes says that from the consequence of the use of this power, we cannot hope to escape, because it is the very law of life. This is an opportunity for us to see the future that we desire. Change the future is an opportunity for you to begin to see the future that you desire. Because what if in this community, everybody dropped their ego? What if you at home drop your ego and invite everybody else to drop their ego? What if you at work drop your ego? What if we at the Center of Peace, for all that we've done, all the good that we've done, that we'd be willing to let our past go? What if we do? And what if we here at the Center of Peace begin to trust each other and love each other so that we become more willing to hold each other accountable? That we become more willing to hold each other accountable. That we are not looking for a growth in our seats, but we're looking for a growth in our consciousness. That not one more person has to come to the Center of Peace, and yet we become so much more of who we are that everybody is drawn to the Center of Peace. Change the future. That we hold each other accountable. A growth in our consciousness that will lead us wherever we are supposed to be, being who we are supposed to be, and doing what we are supposed to be doing. I'm talking about the Center of Peace, but I'm talking about you too, in your own life. Change the future. Or what if in our community, when things don't go right, that those of us that are so quick to leave, that we'd be willing to bring that person back, to invite that person back for an opportunity to stay so that they may desire a greater sense of change within themselves, so that we can change. How about we stop being so quick to leave, to walk out the door? And not just that, but how about we grow some you-know-what so we can say, hey, where are you going? To abandon the truth in your time of need is not why we're here. We have got to change on the inside. We've got to change. Because what happens eventually is that with this idea of changing the future and changing ourselves, we suddenly find that we have come to a place where no longer are we wishing any hurt or any harm for anybody. That we're not really disturbed by what someone says. And that we're not really disturbed by what someone does. Or that we gain a greater sense within ourselves that my life matters just as much as your life. And that the good that I desire, I'm desiring it for you too. Changing the inside. Because just changing the outside isn't enough. It's futile, ineffective. So it's time for each one of us to trust in this power. It's changing ourselves. It's not something that we have to do alone by ourselves, outside of ourselves, with our own thinking, but it's something that we must do as we engage in use of the principle, as we engage in using our own power. That's how we make change. That's how we change the future. So I'm inviting us all then just to sink into that. And I want to read you one last thing that Howard Thurman says in his book, Deep is the Hunger. He says, the glory of religion, even as of life, is the fact that when we have utilized our powers to the full, there remain stretching out before us vast reaches of the yet unexplored. What lays out before us is something we haven't even explored, something we haven't even considered. So let life take you to these places where you can simply let go. Where you yourself, your presence and your essence, through your practice, through applying the principles in your life, that you yourself, when you show up, it is more than enough to meet whatever might be before you. That we realize that we are more than enough in this community for whatever comes before us. Change the future. Consequence, no coincidence. Practitioners, please join me as we anchor this idea of change the future, where we allow ourselves simply to bask in realizing and recognizing the one life of God, the power and the presence, the energy and the essence that's everywhere equally present, flowing through me and flowing through you. For I surely know my oneness with it, and as I know my oneness with it, I know your oneness with it. There can be no separation in the mind of God, and that it's infinite ideas, it's hundreds of thousands, it's billions of ideas, it's finding its way to us in new forms and in new fashions, and that each one of us becomes the vault of the eternal, everlasting original, of reality itself, of truth itself, that may be the only thing that we hold inside of us, where I know then that the demonstration, the seed causes the great demonstration of itself. It perpetuates it. I know then that each one of us in our manifestation that we generate millions and millions and millions of seed of love, millions and millions and millions of seeds of peace, millions and millions and billions of seeds of joy, millions and millions and billions seeds of happiness, millions and millions and billions of seeds of forgiveness, millions and millions, billions and billions seeds of whatever your need may be. Oh, I know that to be the only action and activity occurring right here and right now for me and for you, and that it can be no other way. For our great awareness of the opportunity that is at hand, I know now we take hold of it, embody it, embrace it, and become more of it. And it then within us causes us to change from the inside out, so that our new house, our new home becomes way more than a new house and a new home, but it comes a place for us to rest where we are assured and becoming more of who we are. And nevertheless, oh, I know for certain that the divine idea called the center of peace is a divine idea in the mind of God, and that who we be and what we do is more than enough. That is the very thing that's needed right here, right now, right where we are. So, oh, let all the seeds of the world, all the ideas of the world find its way to us, through us, in us, and as us, where we live out loud, where we affirm and know good and only good, good and very good, where we live in the consequence and not the coincidence. Oh, I am so grateful for this right here and right now, knowing this truth for me, knowing this truth for you, knowing this truth for the center of peace. I celebrate it. I delight in it. I give thanks for it as I just simply move into allowing these words to be, allowing these seeds to find their way into the right soil, where I know where I expect, where I accept change, change, change. For good, for good, for good. I just simply then we let these words go. We let them be as we come together individually, creating peace. And so it is.